Hi there, welcome back to Marky RC. Over the next couple of videos I'm going to be building the Jun Watanabe Hornet. They've just re-released this buggy, lucky to get my hands on one. Had to get it from Germany, but it's arrived and can't wait to put it together. So let's get the box open. I'll get some parts out, get the manual out and we'll get started. Right, I've got the manual out. Even the manual's purple, which is pretty cool. Is it printed in purple? I think it is, yeah it is, yeah. Even the manual internally printed in purple. Jun Watanabe, blockhead motors. They've done the Hornet, the Wild One and the Hotshot 2. Like a sort of weird designer, well not weird but a bit funky in Japan. Seems to always have like a pink pill bottle on all of his heads, which is a bit strange, but there we have it. Ever such easy off-road buggy to put together, the Hornet. You could, if you've been building these models for a while, probably put one of these together in about an hour. Maybe a bit quicker, might take a little bit longer putting the decals on, but very easy build. I think you only get up to part bag C if I remember rightly in this particular kit, but everything is cool. Nice purple and then the pink. We'll go for the pink tyres. So let's get started. I'll get the parts laid out like I do with all the models, line them up along the key. That way you can't make a mistake with screw lengths, and then you know when you've used all the parts up that you put together that particular part properly. I've got a ball race kit for this particular buggy, so I'll be popping the ball races in as we go. Get the parts out, I'll lay everything out for those two pages, pages 4 and 5, and then I'll show you what it all looks like when it's put together. Also show you what the inside of the differential should look like. But like I said before, very simple to put one of these together. So let's get the bits out and get started. Right, here we have all the parts laid out now for pages 4 and 5. You've got both left and right gearbox halves, Tamiya supply plastic bushings. I've replaced them with some rubber shielded bearings. Just run a bit smoother. You've got the rear drive shafts, which are really sturdy, look like they're steel. Also all the tiny pins that hold the planetary gears in the differential. Little aluminium spacer block, selection of screws, Tamiya's 540 silver can motor, which comes with a little decal on now. Whopping great, what is that, 18 tooth pinion, which is huge. Some more hardware, 2 little tiny springs for the rear suspension. Then you've got the rear suspension mounts. Normally they're all black, same with them, normally they're black, but because of the Jun Watanabe Hornet, they're purple. Tamiya's kit supplied grease, which to be fair, it's not a bad grease. Works pretty well, lubricates pretty well. And then what I like to do is get some jars or little storage trays, part bag A, B, C and D. Normally when you build any Tamiya models, but I think the Hornet and the Grasshopper are 2 of the exceptions. Normally at the top of the manual you'll get part bag A, you'll open that part bag, you lay the parts out and basically use all part bag A up, then go on to part bag B. But I'm not sure why the Hornet and the Grasshopper and a couple of the lower end Tamiya models, they have A, B, C and D, but they don't correspond to anything. So you have to open them all up to take bits out of each one, which is quite strange because normally, like I say, you use all those bits up. Got the old Tamiya JIS screwdriver set, because Tamiya screws aren't Phillips or Posi, they're Japanese Japanese industrial standard. Also, really to get yourself a decent set of side cutters when you're cutting the parts off the part trees, much cleaner cut, and the same curved scissors, just makes things a lot easier, and some little tweezers. One, it's easier getting the parts out the little jars than it is trying to sort of get them out with your fingers, well, especially when you've got fingers as fat as mine. So I'll pop all the gearbox together. I'll put all the diff and everything in. Before I close the gearbox up, I'll show you what the gearbox should look like, because they do run pretty smooth, especially when they've got bearings in. And then I'll work my way through the manual, laying the parts out, rough review of the parts, stick them together, and then work through the manual 2 pages at a time. So I'll put these bits together and show you what it's going to look like. Here we have both the gearboxes built up now. All I've got to do is put the differential in, which is just sat there. A few dobs of grease, just to lubricate everything. So I'll pop those 2 parts together and I'll show you what it all looks like when it's assembled. When putting the motor into the gearbox, you have to mount the pinion on. On this particular motor, it can only run an 18 tooth pinion. And it's a standard 540 cam, which does make these do about 15-16 mile an hour. On the side of the manual, it shows you need to be from the face of the pinion to the face of the motor 16 millimeters. And then when you put the motor into the gearbox, the face inside the motor there and the gear inside the motor should be pretty much level, so it's a flat plane across them. There's only one setting for this. This motor mount or gearbox isn't adjustable, so you can only run an 18 tooth pinion, but you can run brushless motors, so that will make this buggy pretty much uncontrollable. So I'll pop all these parts together and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all put together. Just make sure that the face of that pinion and that white gear in there are flush. Right, here we have pages 6 and 7 all laid out now. Got the side nerf bars. They're normally black, but in this kit they're purple. Got aluminium oil shocks. They're quite cool actually. They're almost like a sort of harking back to the Blazing Blazer era of shocks, with a brass plunger which you put a black O-ring round to make it seal inside the shock body. Really well made, brass bushings in the ends. Tamiya supply 400 weight shock oil, silicone oil, but you can adjust that to suit. There's loads of different viscosity oils. Also get some lovely machined shock tops with a gnarled end, make them easy to do up. And then the normal parts that are black on the normal model, the bottom of the shocks are purple. Also get the aluminium cups that hold the ball to the bottom, to the rear axle. That's the way the suspension pivots. Got everything still laid out in my part jars, A, B, C and D. And then I've also put together pages 4 and 5, which is joining the rear gearbox to the chassis. It's sort of got a bit of you get a bit of wiggle on there with 2 little baby springs, but most of the time it's sat in its lowest position. Very, very basic rear axle, but it does work quite well. And it's quite fiddly getting the springs and the little side pieces on. So I'll pop all these parts together and show you what they all look like when they're put onto the model. Right, here we have the chassis now with the rear shocks put on. Slight difference in this kit, you get white springs. It's pretty much the same springs as that come on the Grasshopper Black Edition. Really nice alloy shocks. Nice and smooth. Just a little bit wobbly on the back of the gearbox there. and you've got the little cups that hold the ball stud in. Then we're on to pages 8 and 9, which is installing a servo. Also got the servo saver, some hardware, and a slight difference than in the normal Hornet kit. Pink rod ends, normally they're black or white, and we've got black steering links, and they're normally chrome. So another couple of differences in this particular kit. Put the Nerf bars on just to stop any side impact damage. So I'll put these, I'll get all the steering servo in, we'll set all that up, and then I'll show you what it looks like, next stage of the build. Right, here we have all the parts laid out now for pages 10 and 11. Got the front suspension arms, steering hubs, come in pink, normally they're black. Selection of hardware, we've got the white spring for the front as well. And then on the chassis we've got the side decals installed. Look quite cool, and the front decal, and a 25 kg metal geared servo, and also steering links with the pink rod ends. So I'll pop all these other bits on and show you what it looks like. Right, we've got the front A-arms now with the steering knuckles on, and the bottom part of the suspension mount for the shock absorber. When coming to build the shocks, you can build them in two ways, soft and hard. You basically get two different size shock tops. That's the large one, and inside there you put two O-rings to make the hard shock, or for the soft shock the cup's a little bit smaller and you put one O-ring in there, and then that's the soft setting for the shock. They're simple pogo shocks with a little bit of rubber tube to act like a sort of to give the shocks, to stop it being super floppy. A little bit different than the original Hornet shocks. You can only build them in one way, so I thought I'd just let you in on that. Pop these bits together and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all put onto the buggy. Another weird thing about this kit is you get a set of black wheels and a set of white wheels. You also get the super rare pink tyres, and you also get some black tyres. Now I'm assuming they put another set of wheels in and tyres because those tyres are exceptionally rare and very hard to get hold of. I'm going to build it with the black wheels and the pink tyres because I'm not going to run this buggy. They're too hard to get hold of now, but that does mean I've got a spare set of white wheels and black tyres. Probably more than likely keep them for other models. If not, sell them. You know, you're going to get 15 quid for the wheels, probably 15 quid for the tyres, so it just takes £30 off the kit price. And then this kit was only just over £90 I think, so that's not bad going for a limited edition kit. So I put all the wheels together, which are a 3-piece beadlock wheel. Ever so easy. The only tricky thing is getting the centres in the middle of the wheels, but I have found if you soak the wheels in some warm water, makes the rubber a lot easier to move about, and you can get the centres in. So I'll pop them on and then I'll stick the wheels onto the chassis. Right, here we have the Tamiya John Watanabe Hornet. Chassis is completely finished. As you can see from the back, looks pretty cool with the purple and the pink. And we've got the front bumper, pink wheels, even all the battery compartments purple. You do get quite a lot of towing on these wheels, but everything seems really rigid. Got a little bit of play in the back wheels, but nothing major. I mean, it doesn't bottom out. Suspension's quite soft. And it does is a strange suspension system at the back. Same with the front. They're just almost like friction pogo shocks. But I do think it looks really cool. So all that's left to do now is to paint the driver figure and paint the body. That'll be in the next video. So I hope you've enjoyed the John Watanabe Hornet chassis build. But there is absolutely probably four or five parts that are the same as the original Hornet. Everything else is totally custom for this particular body, for this particular kit, sorry, for the Hornet John Watanabe. I think it looks really cool. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. See you later. Bye.